Hello, I'm Mike Buchanan, leader of the political party Justice for Men and Boys and the Women Who Love Them. I'm also the conference director. My co-host today, as 2 days ago, is the wonderful Sally-Ann Burris, who heads up the initiative Split the Difference. Sally-Ann, a very warm welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm looking forward to speaking to Anil.
Our first interviewee today is Anil Kumar. He's Anil Kumar, a highly respected Indian MRA who spoke at a number of ICMIs, including those in 2016 and 2018 in London and last year's event. Anil, a very warm welcome, and I wonder if you could just try to distill into a minute your background and work.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Well, my background is I am an electrical engineer. I have a degree in electrical engineering with a master's also in electrical engineering. And I worked in a tech industry and also a steel plant in the automation part of it for more than 14 years. And before being an entrepreneur and also a men's rights activist. So in January 2005, and it was also a Yahoo group. So at that time, the situation of men in India was very bad because in domestic violence allegations, the man, his parents, his siblings, and everybody in the family can be put in prison. And we used to see hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children. The target was to start a lot of organizations, not just one NGO, one organization, but a lot of organizations all over India, and to take on this massive human rights violation, and which we succeeded in 3-4 years' time. We succeeded in stopping the mandatory arrest laws, and it was all discussed all over the media. And I was invited to Indian Parliament twice. So to talk about this issue and the other laws related to marriage and gender related issues. By the way, I was also invited by the National Commission for Women, a government feminist body, a couple of years back, and I really had a very good time dealing with them on the podium. And I really told them, for example, something which I told them was like, you have made the matrimonial dispute so adversarial. And why do you expect men to, respect the whole, mediation and the court system? Because you have made it so adversarial. If you want to do anything, just do it and ask him money, he will give it, right? Yeah.
Anil,
so that's what is my introduction. Yes.
Anil, sorry, I think we need to limit it there because we need to get onto the questions. I just want to say for anybody who's not aware, Anil hosted a very interesting conference in Delhi, the beginning of last year, I think, Anil, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, February last year.
February last year, very successful. He very kindly invited me over to speak, and I got to say it was the most wonderful atmosphere. Just really, really happy event. I have to say, very, very impressive. One of the things I learned, Anil, that was quite astonished me, and I may have this slightly wrong, but my recollection is that in India, a woman cannot be charged with domestic violence against a man. Is that right, or have I got that wrong?
Right, it's right. Yes,
incredible.
It's right.
Absolutely.
Only men can be charged. Women cannot be charged. I mean, a man can't make put an allegation on a woman. Maybe in some circumstances, woman can make an allegation against a woman. Maybe that is allowed, but man cannot make a domestic violence. In fact, man can't also make a sexual harassment at workplace allegation against a woman.
Absolutely astonishing. People often point to countries like India as being patriarchal and so on, and you've got to be kidding.
Yes.
I often find in a speaker's corner when I'm there that if you say to Muslims or Hindus that there's a general perception that women are under the thumb, are oppressed, they laugh. Their reaction is always to laugh. Anyway, we must move on. Sally, would you like to ask the first question?
Yes. I really enjoyed your video. I really enjoyed watching it. Yeah, it was very diverse, and it really flagged up the level of violence that men experience and how they experience in India. I was also interested in you talking about some of the legislation and some of the laws. Have you looked conventions, for example, the Istanbul Convention, and the relationship with the legislation that's in India? Have you looked at have you mapped it, to see the impact on India?
Right. If I get it right, you are talking about we contacting United Nations Human Rights Conventions, right?
No, in the United Nations, there is one. I mean, there's a few pieces of their guidance that impacts on laws right the way across the world. One of them is the Istanbul Convention, where
one of them is CEDAW.
Yes.
Elimination of course.
CEDAW.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Have you looked?
By the way, yes. By the way, that is the source, because in after Beijing 95, they call it Beijing 95. Hillary Clinton going to Beijing. All these global sisterhood. In late 90s, they had the Millennial Development Goals, the MDG, United Nations MDG. So under that, they pushed for this, and they forced countries like India to enact a lot of legislation. So we did not have a domestic violence law, so they made India to enact it by year 2005. Okay, and then the sexual harassment at workplace law was not there. We had some guidelines from the Supreme Court, but we didn't have. So that also something, and India has to every year answer in the United Nations why they still don't have the law. So these all policies have come from United Nations.
Did you you said earlier that there's no rights for a man who experiences domestic abuse. Is there any way at all that he can report domestic abuse? Is there any?
He can report to a police. That route is available, but he cannot get a restraining order. Okay.
Yeah.
And the surveys, the government survey, they do not take into account the men's. They don't ask the questions to men. Okay. And the other problem is that many times in the courts and the court mediations, the men are forced to stay with their abuser. So men are told that family is important and your wife and children are important, and they force the man to go back to the woman, and this is one reason many men also commit suicide.
Okay, so you talked about the organizations that you set up. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so in those days, we wanted not to have one organization, but many, because that makes us more stronger. That also makes it difficult for our opponents or government to track us or attack on us, right?
I understand.
So we were in Bangalore, but in Delhi and in Mumbai, in Calcutta and in Chennai and Lucknow, there are so many cities. So we quickly convinced the people to start helplines for men facing domestic violence or false cases, and also to announce name of a local chapter or an NGO with complete freedom. That helped a lot of leadership to mushroom. Lot of people really think we respect them, and then we make them the head a local chapter. They are really so passionate. They really believe. They really love it that we trust them, right? So that encouraged a lot of leadership to grow. And we travel to different cities to coach them what to do, what not to do, how to be careful, how to manage the teams and all that, right? So and then we all went to media.
Okay, so
we did press conferences. Yeah.
Okay. So the work that comes out from these organizations, what does that look like? Do you deliver services? Do you lobby? Do you campaign? What is the kind of work that these organizations do?
Well, there are two parts to it. One part is the support group, where we help the man psychologically. We give them group therapy and maybe individual therapy also. So we always say that 70-80% is the mind. It's the game in the mind. Okay. And 20-30% is the law. So we educate them law also, not from a lawyer, but from a layman's perspective. Okay. So that is the support groups part. Okay. Whereas the activism part, we lobby, we protest in the streets, like in the town halls, outside the town hall, we take permission from the police, we protest. We have contested in elections also at the state levels, right? So we are inspired by justice for men and boys. So we did that also. So we also file, public interest petitions in the Supreme Court to change these laws. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any, is it just men that support you, or do you work with women as well?
We work with women as well, and a lot of journalists are women who have covered our news. In fact, 80-90% of our articles are written by female journalists. Maybe some of them are feminists also. Yeah.
Do you have a constitution there whereby each group adopts the same constitution as the original startups, or is that how you work?
Not really, and that is one of our weaknesses, because we fought all those early years, 2005 till 2013, in an emergency mode. So there was no time to debate and discuss, because people are getting arrested and it's difficult. So what we have got is a basic ideological understanding. So we understand clearly what is the ideological DNA. So all these groups, old groups, they share the same DNA. Okay, that means, they will not presume a man guilty until proven innocent, something like that. And they will not talk to somebody's spouse, somebody's wife, because we as a charity are not authorized to become, do mediation. It can be a court counselor or a lawyer can do, right? So we have guidelines and ideology, and we also believe in free speech. So we don't restrict free speech among our members, as long as it doesn't violate the law of the land. So we can really say whatever we want. So nobody can stop somebody from in the organization saying this is inappropriate, or this is what you are saying is you should stop saying that, because that may be perceived as anti-women or something like that, or anti-culture or something. We say, okay, as long as the law of the land allows, we are free to speak. And our ideology is also centrist, or maybe slightly center left. And why left? We want to sit in the same boat as the feminists, so that it will be very difficult for them to attack us. It's like they will get into the friendly crossfire, friendly fire. So we really love it. Yeah.
So what are the kinds of things that your followers are saying to you in relation to their experience of, I'm assuming that most of these cases are domestic abuse and children issues, family court issues. Is that correct?
Yes, most of them are that, because we also have a lot of false rape cases, and I will speak about it sometime, because there is something which is very bizarre. Indian rape laws are very bizarre. But well, once the man comes to us, he's in trauma. Okay, most of the men are in trauma. Maybe 50% men have gone through suicide ideation. They have thought about committing suicide. But then, after 6 months or 1 year, the guys are like, wow, we are so lucky to be here. Our life had changed. So they party, they go on holiday, they go on retreats, and they don't make their life a function of anything else. They live in the present moment, and then they enjoy life, and they moderate themselves, by the way. Like if a person is smoking too much or drinking too much, they really moderate all that. So we have a complete healing going on. Yeah.
I remember sorry, Sally, but I remember in Delhi, the sort of partying going on, and really sort of lots of dancing and singing and all this. And in the UK, you would assume that that they were drunk, but there was really very little drinking going on. To a British person, it was a really quite extraordinary sight, I have to say. People dancing without being drunk first. I mean, it would never happen here.
Right.
I think the Indian culture has lots of celebrations, doesn't it? Wrapped up in it,
Yes.
It's a celebratory culture anyway. So I think probably they're very used to having that joy, because
yes.
I know.
Yes.
So so that you talked about not having mediation between families. This is not a service that you give to your men.
Yes, we do not give, because in fact, if we have enough funds, we may set up separately with a counselor, therapist, and a lawyer. Unfortunately, we don't have enough funds to do it. And if we try it, maybe it becomes unethical. If we get a lawyer to do it, he may try to, do something bad, and he may try to get a commission out of it. It's a settlement going on, and out of court things, there is always some kind of corruption involved. Okay. So we don't want to do that. By the way, one more rule we have: we do not recommend lawyers to our members. Oh, we do not. Yes, we don't recommend. We don't take the liability.
I understand.
Oh, sorry. Do you mean individual lawyers? Do you mean
individual lawyers?
Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying that you don't recommend lawyers at all. which would be understandable, yes, but slightly surprising. Okay.
Well. That is the other section who fight party in person. So we have separate trainings for 20-30% people who go that way, but we don't recommend it to all, because you may end up losing the job, because you are going around 3-4 courts. So you may it takes a lot of time. Yeah.
I'm really interested. I mean, what you've done is you've built up a network. There's a model here that Women's Aid use, where they have an umbrella organization and they have memberships of that organization. It is for women's domestic abuse services. And then individually registered charities or not-for-profits will then come underneath that umbrella of that central organization. It's a model that lots of organizations adopt, and often it's used in procurement of services and funding and things like that.
Yes.
Is this, but what they do from doing that, they've built up a network where they can gather stats, they gather evidence. I'm not saying they're honest or truthful, but they do have, by that network, they do have the opportunity to gather statistics and evidence. Are you able to do that? Is that something that you can do as well?
Yes, I mean, yes. When you have an umbrella of many organizations, there will be a lot more creativity, a lot more specialization possible, because one organization may specialize in, say, child custody and shared parenting, and another organization is specialized in more on law and public interest petitions, somebody. So this research also, some organizations are very good in research, and we are very good in training people, okay? Academic and training people, right? So that is a very good thing. Unfortunately, our umbrella ran for 8 years. We were stable until 8 years, and in 2013 we had to basically disband it. So we kind of got out of it, and kind of the umbrella is very weak right now, whatever is there, but we are not part of it anymore. So because it created a lot of overheads also. Without a strong constitution, without a strong understanding and finances, this can create a lot of interpersonal differences and conflicts, and online social media like Twitter and Facebook, it is so easy to get triggered and get into something. Then it basically, it's a waste of time.
I understand. We have a question from Sean for you. He says, apologies if this has already been covered. My impressions of Indian families is that they are traditionally ruled by women. Is this accurate?
No, I think they are mostly by men, and sometimes women also, or there can be a fine balance. The completely traditional family, there is a fine balance, and because women tend to live longer, okay, so there can be a matriarch, the man's mother. She may be, I think this is what happens in most of the Asian countries, if it's a joint family or something. So there can be a woman who is like in 70s or 60s, and she also keeps the family united. But once we had the nuclear family in 60s and 70s, it led to its own problems, because men need support of other men, because we are working for emergencies, right? So that is something Indian families, somehow we struggled with the nuclear families, and even now, we are into single parent families. Right now our divorce rate may be between 7 to 10%, and it is the window is moving, in fact, till the age of 30.
It was historically one of the lowest in the world, Anil, I recall.
Yes. Till the age of 30, I only knew two two men who were divorced. I had not seen any other divorced people,
Wow.
men or women.
Wow. And is that because of I'm not quite sure how to put this. Is it regarded, or was it then regarded as a shameful thing to divorce, or was there a failure of family support, or what?
No, in a way, there were two things. One part is that the way people are dependent on each other. Imagine the economy is not good, and many times, often we are not rich, right? And many countries are not rich, so you are economically dependent on each other. And if you separate out, it doesn't make economic sense, and you will be ending up with poverty. The other part is that Hindu religion, which is like 80% of the population, there is nothing called divorce anywhere written in any code, any law, any dharma.
Wow.
You don't like your wife, you can have another wife. It is not a coded religion. You can have another wife. That's it.
Well, we have a saying here. Bigamy is having two wives. We have a saying in the UK: bigamy is like monogamy, one wife too many.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the government of India made the law, Hindu Marriage Act in 1955, and they made all these things like a Western law. But traditionally, the culture is in people that there is nothing called divorce. They may get separated, but then they will never go to court to divorce. And in fact, I know some cases, people on a piece of paper, they will divorce themselves. Or a stamp paper, they will divorce themselves in front of the tribe or the elders, and that is divorce. They won't go to court.
And is it your president or prime minister doesn't live with his wife, I think, does he?
Yes. Modi, Prime Minister Modi doesn't live with him, and he is not divorced, and like maybe 50 years he is not divorced.
Yeah. Astonishing.
So I wanted to have a chat to you about the level of violence. Twitter, Instagram, we're seeing more. I've got a social media presence, so we utilize that the best we can. And I noticed that we're seeing an increase in videos from India showing women who are being violent, very violent towards men. It's not something you would see greatly in the street here without arrests taking place.
Right.
Yeah. So, has there been an increase in the violence, say, over the last sort of 5 years?
Yes. Last 5-6 years, there has been a real increase because our culture is going through a transition since early 90s. Okay. So the way women dress, for example, had changed. Okay. And the way people behave, everything had changed. And this is a historic way, by the way. We can write a lot of books about the transition of the culture. But so we are still in that process. And last 5-6 years, the way the politicians and the media have pampered women, young women especially, so they believe that they can get away. And also because we are a traditional society, a lot of chivalry exists, and the policemen, they cannot arrest a woman, or they won't handcuff the woman. For that you have to have the female police also. So that is how, for example, a woman cannot be arrested after 6 p.m. She can, and morning 6 a.m. They can't be arrested without an order from a magistrate. So there are a lot of things to protect women, and since a long time.
That's a crazy law. That's an absolutely
policy.
Okay. Yeah, it's a crazy policy. I mean, here we have in the UK and in no other countries, there's a preference that there's a female officer in situ when a woman's been arrested, or there's women with issues. There's a preference for that, but that doesn't have to be in place before somebody is prevented from doing harm. You know. So and to me, that's, obviously I'm a woman, I don't tolerate violence from anybody. In actual fact, when I watched your videos, I found it abhorrent, and the thought, I've got 4 daughters, and the thought going through my head at the time, if I ever saw my daughters behaving that way and dropping their level of respect for themselves that way, I don't care how old they were, I would be having a really good, strong talk to them around that. That's just, it's awful. Yeah, we're awful culturally. Sean has got a great question. He says, was there ever a sexual revolution in India? I mean, here in the UK and America, you know, through the 60s and 70s, there was this sexual revolution where women became more, you know, they knew what they want and they took what they want, and there was free love.
I think you're searching for the word promiscuous there, Sally.
Yeah.
So yes. So is there a time, or relevantly now or in the past, where there's been a sexual revolution where women have taken control of their wants and needs
Yes, it started happening around 2000, 2001, and now it is done. So there was a woman, a film actress of South India. She went to TV and she said, I had a live-in relationship with a man, and then later on I married, and she was sued by 25 women's organization for promoting, you know, promiscuous behavior, right? She was sued, and this was in 2003. Okay, but then she won all the cases, and then the whole thing turned the other way around. So all the movies, Bollywood movies and all, nowadays they show the same thing that is there in Hollywood, that you first sleep with the people, and then you know, whatever happens, love and everything else. So we have that sexual, because I have the data. We really have our own research with what is going on in different parts of the country, and it is happening in villages, cities, and everywhere. In fact, I may say it may be worse than USA. The current situation of India most probably is maybe in USA people are restrained. Maybe some religious groups are more restrained than maybe in India. But of course, the government doesn't allow it. You know, in fact, it was very difficult to get a hotel room for a couple to stay if they are not married or if they are not blood related. Just a few years back, it is gone now. And so society kind of tried to control it, but it didn't happen, and now we are here. Yeah.
Can I? Sorry, Sally. Can I just say, Anil, I think your internet signal failed for a couple of seconds quite early on, so we didn't get the name of your organization, but I think it's the Save Indian Family Foundation, or SIF. I wonder if you could just
give your Save Indian Family Foundation.
I wonder if
my
you could
organization's.
I wonder if you could just give the website address for people.
Yes, the website is saveindianfamily.org.
Fine, thank you. I'd like to come on to a question from Steve Moxon, the author of the wonderful, amazing book, The Woman Racket in 2008. Everyone should have a copy of that on their bookshelves. He says, Anil, do you think that this astonishing street violence by women in India will play into the hands of men's rights activists in changing public opinion and then the law?
By the way, this has already changed the public opinion, because people are getting these videos in WhatsApp and social media. I mean, you know, even everybody. So there are, you know, there are people have made a lot of mockery of this also, that kind of women they are. And so this is all has created the public perception has changed. However, we, the MRAs, are unable to use that you know, that change in the public perception. We are not able to capitalize on it yet, because our own internal dynamics because after social media, Facebook and Twitter, right, we had our own internal dynamics changed, and our movement, you know, men's movement is always unstable. It's not a very stable thing until we get a lot of money or funds, right? But we have a plan. So we plan to start a series of protests called the Men Have a Right to Self-Defense. And we have a clear plan with certain imagery, certain symbols. We go to the street, take permission, and we go there and say that men have a right to self-defense. And that is the message we want to give it to police and the judiciary and everybody, that if you don't deal with this, we have that natural right. So then they will understand it can be a law and order problem. So we are increasing their stakes. We will be increasing their stakes.
So thank you. We've got another question from Sean. Are there any particular influencers, newspapers, TV channels, politicians, etc., pushing the anti-male sentiment in India? If so, who?
Anti-male or anti-male sentiment?
Yeah,
okay.
I think what Sean means is in terms of media in the UK and other countries, they're very female centric. So all our news channels, all our media channels are very supportive of women, and actually quite verbally anti-male sometimes. I'd like to say sometimes it happens too often. So is India like that?
Yes, I will. There are two parts to it. One is the political spokespersons, the political people speaking against men, specific people, prominent people. The other part is the media anchors and all speaking against men. When it comes to political people, some of the top political leaders, they are trying to create a women's vote. Just like in USA. So they are offering, for example, one top politician, she's daughter of a former Prime Minister of India, and she has offered in a state election. She's saying every girl will get a iPhone or a smartphone, and she will get a two-wheeler to go to college. That is what she's talking about. And then there is one politician of Delhi. He's actually the chief minister of the ruler of Delhi state, which is a small state. He says in another state elections that he will give every woman some amount of money every month. Whether you are rich or poor or you deserve or not, they are going to give. Wow. So somehow our election commission should come, if this happens in USA, you can be sued, by the way, but unfortunately we have this article 15/3, which doesn't allow us to sue them. But had it been in USA, then NCFM would have sued them easily and got a lot of money. Yeah. So that is about politicians. When it comes to media, because we have fought against the media for so long, the media is not as vicious as the say US media or UK media, like Guardian and all. Media is not that vicious. There are some channels, some left-wing, news sites, they can be vicious, but the kind of bad language that they use, like Huffington Post and all, they outright use words which are vulgar. They can be in the title. They can call somebody a creep. In India, they don't do that yet. But the TV debates are very nasty in India. It's like a reality show, people fighting and all that. But then they also love chaos, right? So we may also thrive there. That's a different story. But in print media, I can say that they are pretty moderate.
You mentioned earlier on, Anil, that there are some restrictions on free speech in India. I wonder if you could give us a sense of that.
Yes, free speech against religious things can be a problem. For example, you cannot insult. It is like a Pakistani Anti-Blasphemy Law. Same thing we inherited from British, because British was so fed up, they made this law. Pakistan went to the extreme into the death penalty part of it. India for a long time was like, you give a warning or small thing and leave it. But now that,
and this is sorry, Anil. So this is criticizing or mocking religions. Is this what you're talking about?
Religions or religious figures, whether it is Christianity, Islam, or Hinduism.
Okay.
Right. But by the way, here is the story. Hinduism criticism is allowed. We all used to criticize, and joke, have skits in my college days. We can't today think of doing that. Even Hinduism, because they are trying to benchmark it against Islam. Okay, so lot of comedians are now in prison, or they go into prison and come out stand-up comedians or all that, because they insulted Hinduism, because they don't dare to insult Islam. So now these guys say, no, we have the same standards. Okay, but coming back to the other topic, you can't insult a woman. For example, she can always say that there are a lot of sections called outraging women's modesty. So women are considered as modest. So you can't use any words, so she can always use that law called 354A. So we have a series of laws. You can't stalk a woman and all, but even cyber harassment or using any bad language against a woman can get a police report.
We used to issue Lying Feminist of the Month awards, Anil. Would that be illegal in India? Would that be illegal?
I think that won't be illegal. That won't be illegal.
Okay.
It won't be. But we can actually, but we can't use a word like a slut or we can't use a word slut or something like that, because one is going to go to prison, or it will be a case that will run for 5 years.
So it's a question of women's honor then. That's what that comes down to, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Shall I ask Steve's question?
Yes, please, Sally.
I'll say, so Steve Moxon has said, it seems that India has a culture that is a clash between tradition and new political nonsense. That is, tradition has not at all been lost and is still very much there to counter the new political nonsense. This is quite different to the situation in the West, where tradition has faded alarmingly. Is this an accurate perception of India today?
Yes. In fact, we have different layers, not just one traditional layer. We can have a tribal layer, because there are a lot of people in jungles or tribes, right, with their own customs. So you can find Africa in India, and you can find the United States or some Scandinavian country also in India. So we have a lot of layers, and we ourselves are confused or perplexed to what all we discover, okay, because of the diversity and the number of layers we have. Yeah. So the clash, when the clash happens, it creates a lot of contrast. And that is also a good thing for us, because we can easily show anomalies, right?
So the data that you extract, does it help? Do you feed this into the political voice? You know, if you
can you please elaborate?
So the data, and you said you do some research. There's a group that's very good at the research side. When you take that evidence and that research, are you in a position where you can feed it into mainstream politics? Can you influence?
Yes.
You can.
Yes, we can.
So
we have changed the laws.
Okay.
We have got a misuse clause when we fought against the sexual harassment at workplace law. Okay. In 2007, it was supposed to be enacted due to force of United Nations. And we said, you put a misuse clause, you make it gender neutral with a misuse clause. Then the feminists said, we don't want the law. You don't give me any law. Then that's how feminists are. So they threw tantrums, and it got delayed by 6 years. Finally, in 2013, the government passed the law of sexual harassment at workplace. They gave us the misuse clause. So there is a misuse clause, in that called if you misuse it. So there's a law with a misuse clause. We got it. But they did not make it gender neutral. So it's like a half victory. Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder, sorry. Interesting question from Sean G. Anil, can you comment about abortion in India? I've heard stories that selective abortion is widespread, women choosing to have terminations if the sex of the baby doesn't suit them, by which I think he means, or doesn't actually say, if the sex is female. Are those stories real or fictional?
Well, this is an awesome question, actually. In India, we don't have abortion politics. By Hindu groups, Muslim groups, Christian groups, maybe, but they are not organized like in USA or many other countries. We never had abortion politics. So since 1960s and 70s, government to control population openly promotes abortion everywhere. I mean, in the media, everywhere you see it, it's open, and it's unbelievable if you do it in USA. Okay. So that's what is going on. And this is going on since a long time. And they say that it's a woman's health and all that issue. We don't get into that topic of abortion. Now, sex selective abortions, what they are talking about, that is like India and China. That is like that is a side effect of such a liberal policy. Okay. Having said that, the data is questionable. The data that they get is questionable, because it has been found that India's northern and northwestern states have a much bigger bias, whereas the southern and the eastern states have no bias. No sex selection at birth. In fact, more girls are getting birth in certain South Indian states than boys. It's strange, right? There's a complete Anomaly.
So there's some sex selection the other way. Do you mean, Anil?
I won't go there. Before I go there, I'll say something. Why the northern and western states may have a bias, whereas the other, it can be likely that the northern and western states are more conservative because they were always invaded. India can only be invaded from the northwest side of it, the Punjab and Pakistan side of it, or Afghan side of it. Otherwise, it's Himalayas, right? So these people were always too much protective about talking about their girls and daughters. So they may be underreporting because our survey mechanisms are so poor. It is possible that during a census or a count, somebody will say that how many family members have you got and how many sons and daughters. So it's possible that he has 3 daughters and he will, on one son, he will say 1 daughter or 1 son, he may underreport. And recently it has been found that the census is saying that we have 1,020 women for 1,000 men. 1,020 women for 1,000 men in India. So if we had all these things going on, then the women's number would not have increased more than men.
I think you mean, I'm sorry, Anna, just for clarification, I think you mean 1,020 female babies born for every 1,000 male babies.
No, adult. There are more women in India now.
That's really quite extraordinary because the imbalance, certainly in the UK, is rather higher than that because I mean, women live on average 5 years longer than men. So I would think it'd be more like 11 to 10 or something. But anyway.
Yeah. By the way, I think this gap was only 3 years in India, 2.5, 3 years between life expectancy of men and women, and it now I think increasing. As the life expectancy goes up, the gap increases. Our life expectancy was 63 years, by the way, 63, 65, 2 decades back. Mm-hmm.
So Steve Moxon's asked another question. He says, what is your understanding of the basis of favouring male children? This is still something of a mystery, even to scientific investigation here in the West.
Well, this is also an awesome question. Why do they prefer a male child? What is the problem? There are 2 reasons. A daughter can be a big liability on her father, okay, in India, as per our culture, okay, because he has to spend a lot of money, and he has, basically Indian culture is by default a hypergamous culture. So he has to find a man who is much higher in status and education and job security, everything. So, but then there is a short supply, right? You can't get 50% men and women. How do you get those top people? So the expectation of a woman to really marry much higher up. So that is the hypergamy. That pressure comes on the father. So one of the things is that he has to maybe he has to lure somebody by offering a lot of gift or making all that. So that is actually psychologically a very big burden on my grandpa. My maternal grandfather had 6 daughters and 1 son. Okay, 6 daughters, and he has to find men, my father included, who all have to be. He has to find 6 men who are, that's a challenge, right? So that's one thing that led to this son preference. The other part is also there is one more angle apart from this. I think, in India, right, the crime against women traditionally also people are scared about it. So if we keep on talking about crime against women, then a family can feel, because we are a huge country, we get so much of bad news. So the family can feel that my daughter will be unsafe. If I have a son, he is not safe. He is safe. Son is safe and daughter is unsafe. So I have to spend more money to protect her. Whereas actually it is the other way around. The boys are more likely to be killed, or boys are 3 times more likely to be kidnapped than girls. But that statistics is not played in the media.
Interesting. I find hypergamy a fascinating issue on so many levels. There's just not enough rich men to go around, Anil, is there?
Yes.
You have to feel sympathetic for women. I come on to a question from Sean G. In the UK, feminism is mostly located in the richer, safer strata of society. the university educated in particular. Among the poor, feminism is almost unknown. Is the same true in India?
Yes, in a way we can say yes, but because our society is so complex, feminism manifests in many different ways. By the way, yesterday, a top feminist of my city, who is often in the media, she contacted me on phone and WhatsApp asking help for a male victim. Okay, so you can see how feminism is. In our case, it can be like a feminist can contact a men's rights activist asking help, and it can happen. So all kinds of things can happen in India because of the complexity of and the changes that are happening in the society. So I won't say it is completely black and white. There is a big gray, or there are many dimensions to it.
Can I just say, sorry, Sally, just very quickly, that abortion is a very interesting issue. I'm relaunching my political party maybe in February or March as a pro-family, pro-children and pro-life party, because as a political party we need votes, and trying to force people to look through a lens they will not look through, men's and boys issues, is not a vote winner. But I'm actually of the view, I mean, I think I was the first person to talk about abortion in an ICMI speech in Chicago two years ago. And I've been thinking about it an awful lot since. I believe abortion is going to become the flagship issue of the men's rights movement. And I devoted about half of my speech at this conference to the matter. And when in the speech I included a 14-minute video from about exactly what abortion is. 73 million unborn children were killed last year. The whole of World War II, the most lethal war in history, 70 million, and that was over 6 years. The scale of this genocide is people don't get it. People don't understand what abortion is. So that's why I had this video. This is what abortion is. People are horrified. Men's rights activists are not well informed about exactly what abortion is. And I actually think, although it's the women's issue, the feminist issue, I also think it's the issue on which they're weakest. I think it's actually a card. It's a house of cards feminism. And I think abortion is one of the cards at the bottom of that tower. But no, so I'll just we're getting a little bit tight on time. I wonder if you could just say a few things about hopefully, fingers crossed, your next ICMI.
Yes, before that, I would like to say 2 sentences about one more issue, which is a pretty big issue. A lot of Indians work in UK or USA or Europe, right? Australia. These guys send a lot of foreign exchange, and they really like the Twitter CEO is Indian right now. Okay, so the point is these people are really harassed. Often the government impounds their passports or without any logic. There is a lot of corruption. So they when they come to India, many times they are harassed at the airports with something, some kind of a thing which is illegal, and that creates a lot of problem for these guys. Right. So this is something I wanted to say, and we plan to have to do something. Unfortunately, these numbers are not that high. People who live in foreign countries, the expats and all, but this is a huge problem. Well, coming to the ICMI in 2023, we are ready for it. And in India, we can easily travel nowadays between cities. So we'll plan everything 1 year in advance, and we will launch it. By the way, we will have tickets separately in the USA and in India. So people in foreign countries, they can pay in dollars in USA and or pounds, and in India it is rupees, right? So we will adjust that way, and we will do the bookings and all, maybe some flight tickets and some of the speaker accommodations or something we are working on. Then we will see how we spend it. And of course it would be a 3-day event. And we plan to have concurrent sessions, at least 2 So the keynotes will be the same. One or two keynotes are the same. Then you can move into two different sessions based on what you choose. And we will have a local team, video team, and with the team coming from UK, Tom and others. So we have to do all the homework for that, visa and equipment, so that we get everything recorded. And we also would like to see if we can get politicians or celebrities into it.
And sorry, just very, very quickly. And that will be in Bangalore. I know that was a very popular choice.
Goa. That would be in
Goa. I'm sorry. Yes, Goa. Yes. So sorry, Sally, go on.
We've only got literally 2 minutes to answer this question, but Sean, I think there's two sides to that. But Sean has said, I think your video about female violence is absolutely brilliant, a must watch for attendees, in my opinion. What are the prospects of getting it to a wider audience, a wider attention? And he also wants to know why that woman was, it's been removed now. Sorry, why the woman was stripping off. It was a quick question.
Okay. So firstly, I would request you in the Western countries to, I will give you a series of videos like this. Okay, 2 minutes, and you can use your contacts in the Western countries to create awareness, because in India we are aware, but the foreign media has a very biased opinion. So if the international opinion changes, that will really help. And I can't travel. I can't always travel. So I have that request that please circulate this in your own channels. It can be a conservative channel or a religious channel or whatever sources are there. And you have to say this is the real India, okay? Because India is always misrepresented. The other part is misrepresented. India is always misrepresented. The other part is, what was the last question you had?
It was why was the lady stripping?
Oh, stripping. Okay, maybe that was the reaction. She did it in reaction because she was also drunk. The police came there, and then this becomes a big controversy. Maybe she got scared that she will be held to account because she has hit the man first, right? She had the security guard. So she let me go to my room and all, but the police is like, you stay here. We are getting the female police and we'll settle it out. So she says that, let me strip in the lift.
And Anil, sorry, we have half a minute left.
Yes.
So I'll give that the final question to Steve Moxon. Do you think India will be the breakout nation for men's rights?
Yes, I think India will be the Stalingrad. It is the Russia. That is what will happen for feminazis. That's what I can say. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Anil. I knew it'd be a great Q&A. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for all the amazing work you've done over so many years. Sean G says, writes in the chat, superb. So I don't think it can get much better than that.
Thank you,
thank you very much,
Anil.
Thanks, and I look forward to seeing you in Goa in 30 to 40 months. And thank you, Sally, for your wonderful co-hosting as always. And I'm afraid we have to say goodbye.
Anil, I will be in touch.
Goodbye, guys.
I want to
Thank
speak
you.
to you, so I'll be in touch, okay?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, take care.
You can get my number from Mike. Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Bye.